Gautam Shah of JM Financial Services with us on the show now. We're talking for the first time. Gautam, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in this afternoon. Niraj here. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
If you can start off with this very basic thing. Today the markets, as we speak, have just moved back into the green. Do you look at correlations between crude, the currency and the Indian markets? And if so, what do they tell you about what the near term holds in store?
Well, Niraj, no real textbook correlation has really worked in the recent past, so I really don't want to go too much into that. I think with what markets have done in the last 1 week, it's a pretty spectacular run that we've seen. And if one went by logic, common sense or theoretical fundamentals, there was no reason to believe that the market will be at 10,900 levels today. But having said that, I think you need to respect the price action. And it does seem as if the market discounted all the bad news really quickly. Had this been a proper downtrend, the market would have taken a lot more time to discount the negative news. But that did not happen. So in a couple of days, with the Nifty losing about 300-400 points and then testing our first target of 10,400, we've seen this rebound. And with the closing above 10,850 yesterday, I think that was a sort of an indication that you will have to look at this market action with a positive eye. Also, I think the fact that this disconnect that we've had with the US markets in the last few days, I think that's phenomenal. To have two back-to-back 500-point down days for the Dow and to see the Nifty do what it has, I think that tells a lot. And I think this could actually have ramifications for the many days and many weeks to come. So yes, I think the price action for now looks positive. There was a scare last week. The chart setup wasn't great, but things have changed in the last 3 or 4 sessions. And it tells us that this, positive bias is likely to continue, heading into the new year. So we feel that in the near term, the Nifty is likely to move towards that zone of 11,050 to 11,070. And a bigger picture target on the upside would be about 11,300 to 11,350. So that's where we should move to. And I think on the downside, we've created a very strong support band in the form of 10,650 to 750. It's not far away from where we are trading right now. But I think keeping this band in mind, or keeping this band as a sort of a trailing stop loss for trading positions which people might have, I think one can continue to ride this move, which a lot of people are hating, given the fact that it's come very abruptly and very sharply.
Gautam, just want your opinion on obviously the fact that we've seen such an up move that's come in post the state election announcements, and that week particularly saw an interesting amount of price action. But taking a look and juxtaposing the data from the option side, suggestive of the fact that the system was heavy with shorts, and the first leg of the up move came in because of the shorts moving out and booking losses. Now, has the market got that much breadth in terms of the depth of the market to take it further up to levels that you're talking about on the back of strong volumes and this being sustainable?
Well, it's quite understandable that there was a lot of speculative interest around the state election results. This was an event that we were looking forward to for the last few months. So, it's understandable that the market was volatile, and you had the India VIX test a level of 21. But the day the results was announced, the fact that the Nifty made the low in the first half hour, I thought that sort of gave you the indication that this market did not want to see any follow-ups weakness, and it had news. But while we are today at 10,900 levels, it must be said that the broader market performance has been quite dismal. If you just run through top 100 or top 200 mid-cap stocks, you will see that they haven't really participated, in this recovery. It's just a handful of 15-20 stocks that have taken this market higher. But if the Nifty has to go up another, say, 300-400 points from here, I think it's going to be the broader markets that will outperform. Because as we speak, I think the CNX Midcap 100 Index is at a major inflection point. This area of 17,700 to 17,800 if we are able to get past this zone, you could potentially see a 1,000-point recovery on the mid-cap index, and that's going to be great news for market participants, because then the broader market strength will be seen, and maybe the Nifty might then take a back seat. So more than the mainline indices, I'm actually watching the small cap and the mid-cap index very closely here, because if this rally has to continue, the mid-caps have to participate, which was not the case in the earlier occasion.
What would confirm the event of, or the likelihood of this event occurring, Gautam? Does the mid-cap index need to move above and stay above a particular level for a period of days for you to be convinced that we are past that inflection point and the rally is well and truly started?
Well, Niraj, we are right there right now. As I said, I think 17,700 to 17,800. And let me highlight that early last week also we were at that point, and there was an indication that we could potentially break out on the upside. But there have been 3 or 4 failed attempts in the last 3 months. And those failed attempts did not give us the confidence to believe that the market rally has, the bigger picture market rally has too many legs. But now this is probably the 4th attempt. It's looking slightly better because last week, as the markets fell to levels of 10,350, the mid caps actually did not participate on the downside. Many stocks saw volumes which had dried up. Many stocks had turned sideways. And it was, again, a handful of 20, 30 stocks which actually took the Nifty down to those levels. So the disconnect which was there between the Nifty and the mid cap last week was positive for the first time, and this gives me some confidence that maybe this attempt on the upside, could actually be genuine. But, while we are talking about the Nifty and the mid caps, I think the overhang is really going to be the US markets, because the US market setup continues to be negative, and how we deal with the weakness in the American markets going forward is something that we'll have to wait and watch. So it's not going to be a smooth run. It's going to be volatile. It will be peppered with small corrections of 100, 200, 300 points from time to time. But the market is giving you the indication that it wants to respect supports, and you just buy that argument.
Right. For the bank Nifty as well, if we were to probably look at how it's performing vis-a-vis the Nifty, there has been a tad bit of an outperformance from the banks this time around. So how would you position yourself in the bank Nifty? Would there be a trading opportunity here? Would you wait it out for certain slightly more lucrative or favorable risk-reward levels to come about in the bank, as we're now at about 27,130 on the bank Nifty?
Well, the markets have not allowed you to wait it out. Had somebody taken that call late last week, let things stabilize, then we will take a call, you would have lost 400 points on the Nifty and 1,000 points on the bank Nifty. That's the sad part of the markets. They're just moving too quickly these days, and therefore one needs to be nimble-footed in this environment. And I must say that the bank Nifty was really the pillar of strength last week, because this index had outperformed throughout. It respected support levels very well from that level of 25,500, which it hit, on the state election results day. Today we are at 27,000, so it's already a 1,500 point recovery from the lows. And I think once the supply around 27,000 gets absorbed, because it's an important option strike, I think then you could see another 600, 700 points. So 27,600, 27,700 is quite doable. And I do believe that many of the private banking names are setting up really well from current levels. And there could be a trading opportunity of about 5 to 7%. And some of the PSU banks could potentially see a relief rally here. So if you have to participate in the market upside from here, it still has to be the banking space.
Just look at the Nifty Bank.
I know. It's just like complete turnaround, and as we speak, it just keeps going up further. So now 0.5% higher from being down more than 0.5% in the morning. That's a good, strong bout of recovery that's coming in 27,140 on the Nifty Bank. Gautam, in terms of sectors, now while we're talking about the bank Nifty, within the banks, what is it that you like? Is it the PSUs that you favor? Are the private sector banks looking that much more well placed? And any other sectors that you are laying focus on right now?
Well, in the banking space, I would stick with the top 3 or top 5 private banking names. I think they are high beta, they move with the market. And in this market environment, you want to be in stocks, that move up with the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. And therefore, the top three or four names, definitely come to mind. And, there I see a potential of about 5 to 7%, as I mentioned earlier. So that's one space that looks very exciting, and it could propel the Bank Nifty to levels of 27,600, 27,700. Apart from this, I think the oil and gas index looks very interesting at these levels. It has seen a pretty large decline in the last few months. It lost almost 25% in value, and now it's seen a very gradual recovery in the last 1 month. And this recovery can potentially lead to another 1,000-point rally for the BSE oil and gas index. So that's one space I'm very kicked about. And I would follow that up with the auto space, which saw significant damage early this year. That index is also into recovery mode. Many of the beaten down stocks have formed nice bases at lower levels. And since the decline itself was so large, I think the upside potential for many of the auto stocks, whether it's an underperformer or an outperformer, is quite significant from here. So these three would probably be my three best trading bets in the market as we head into the new year.
All right, Gautam, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Hope to see you more often on the channel. Thanks so very much for joining in and sharing your thoughts with us.